How you doing? I'm Trenius on the infamous Living Room Network. Thank you so much for watching and being interested in the topic, how I became more spiritual. I'm just gonna really just kind of give you my story on how I started out in this whole spiritual thing. But with that being said, I'm gonna start off by saying what we always say here on the Living Room Network, which is divine powers are always working for us because we're trying to do right. Anyway, so my spiritual journey, how I became spiritual. Well, first and foremost, it all started with me just, being sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got to a point in my life where I felt like I was always being beaten up, you know, emotionally by everything around me. And there were times where I just found myself just so down and out, and it seemed like no one really could help me the way that I needed them to help me. You understand what I'm saying? And it was happening over and over and over and over again. I was feeling like people were really treating me wrong, and they just really did not understand the way that I understood things. And I wanted things in life. I wanted to go places. I wanted to meet new people. I got tired of being in the same location and doing the same things. I wanted to have more money. I wanted the fine girls, and I really wanted to just be somebody, and go somewhere. But I couldn't do that because it felt like where I was at was I was trapped. I was trapped by, like, in my own mind, so to speak. And so this happened for a long time. I was always going through life just having this big, mental picture about myself and who I really was and what I wanted to become. It almost felt like I was in like this mental prison and I just could not break out. But no matter what happened to me, I always believed that I was worth more than where I was at. And so as I began to get older and the urge for me to want to do bigger and better things with my life grew, I began to turn to certain resources like books, biographies, stuff that I can learn from, stuff that could help me grow as a person. And I began to read like stuff about other people and how they did what they're doing in life, and successful people and inspiring people. I also began to read the Bible and stuff, and see what it was about this whole God thing. I didn't really understand nothing at the time. It was hard for me to understand what the Bible meant. You understand? It was hard for me to know the difference between positive energy and negative energy, or positive emotions and negative. I was like, what is this? But it started to make sense when I started to like take the initiative to go out and change my life by going to different resources that would help me. Like, I would go to seminars, I would go to the library, I would get on the internet, look up stuff, I would go to older people and talk to them about life and stuff like that. So I had like a hunger to do better. I didn't just say, hey, what, I'm tired of this, and just continue with my daily walk like I can't do nothing about it. No, I had like a hunger that was inside of me that propelled me to go forward and to want to keep making a change that I did not even see anything changing for. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I did not see anything happening as I was doing all this, and so I just kept doing it because when I would read something positive, when I would read something good, when I would read something about God, or when I would read something spiritual or something like that, it made me feel good because it was nothing that was going against me. Like, everything else in my life was going against me. I was blaming everybody and their mama for, the situation that I was in. But the more I continue to read more about the things that interest me at the time, the more I began to let go of like dead weight that I was feeling at the time. And so I just went after things that I was interested in. Like, like drawing, sports, cooking. Like I was trying to get information and do research for everything that I felt in my spirit, like in who I was as a person, and learn as much as I can about it. And it helped me. It helped me grow. It helped me to see life in a different perspective. And before you know it, like I started to be indulging into all different kind of subjects at this point. At this point I'm a little older than I was before, and I just started to develop like a knowledge base, a foundation, like you build a foundation for a house. You start out with the bricks first. Like I did that. I had got to the point where I had actually built the foundation of the house. Now it was time to actually build the house. You see what I'm saying? And so when I got to the point where I was like starting to build my house, that's when I really knew what I wanted to do with the things that I had just learned. So, my spiritual journey just started there, and it went and it continued. And it got to a point where I remember one day I was in my room reading an inspirational book. I can remember to this day. It was by Max Lucado. It's that inspirational book by Max Lucado. It got like this yellow dog on the front. I don't know, but if you look up Max Lucado books and type in yellow dog or something, you'll probably see. I was reading that book in my bed one day, and just doing my daily routine, just trying to better myself. It wasn't nothing else I could do. I felt like I was trapped in the situations that I was in. I was just reading the book, and I remember when I turned the page, it's like this feeling came over me, man. It was like this feeling came over me that I had never felt before. At that time I really wasn't in church or nothing like that. My girlfriend at the time had stayed in a whole different state. Me and her were trying to do this long distance relationship. I didn't have no car. I didn't have no job. I didn't really have no friends. I don't even think I had that much clothes, to be honest with you. I mean, I was just kind of struggling, you know what I'm saying? And I was reading this book, and I turned this page in this book, and I immediately felt something like I never felt before. I'm not trying to say this is what you would experience, but this is just my journey. This is my walk. This is what happened to me, and maybe it can help you. But anyway, I felt this feeling come over my body like I had never felt before, and I just felt so enlightened. I just felt so like I knew something now. I knew it. I didn't even know what I know, but it's like my eyes opened up, and it seemed to me it's like all that time I was looking for something, and then I finally found it. But you can't even see what it was. I couldn't even see what it was because it was not in the sense of something that you can see. It was just a feeling in an awareness that came over me, like a epiphany or a revelation, or something that happened quick, like boom, and I just was like, man, I get it, and it's like I get it, and I remember in that moment I was so excited, I threw the book down on the bed and I just jumped up, and it's like I called my girlfriend who was in a whole different state at the time, and I was like, hey, you know what, I understand now, and she acted as if she already knew what I was talking about, and I'm like, it's the spiritual stuff, man. The spiritual stuff weird. She was like, I know, I understand. I've been praying for you. I've been praying. I'm like, what? You been praying for me? How did that make that? What that got to do with me right now? Prayer? So at the time, I was startled. I was astonished. I'm like, man, dang, this is really real stuff, And to this day, I can look back on that moment and say, that was something that God did, because I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know what it, And so after that, I began to grow even more and more and more. And now at this point in my life, I'm really like seeking knowledge. I'm really just like being a more open person. Once before I was the victim person. I was just blaming everything around me for everything in my life that was going on. But at this point, I began to take responsibility for where my life was going. And so I just began to learn more. The only thing I could do was learn about what it is that I wanted to do and the direction that I wanted to go in. The only thing I could do was learn. If you get tired of feeling down and out about something and you want to change it, if you don't know how to change it, you learn how to change it. So I learned how to change my life, and it's just, to me, it was common sense. It's like I found myself in a situation. I didn't want to be in a situation. I wanted to change my situation. Nobody wanted to tell me. I didn't know nobody who could tell me how to change my situation. I didn't know nobody who could tell me how to go in a direction I wanted to go in. Only thing I could do was learn from outside resources on how to do what I wanted to do, and that's what I did. And I began to see my life just like, I want to say, magically change right before my eyes, you know, because I was always, at this point, I'm putting myself in situations that I didn't even know how to put myself in at the time. I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know I didn't know how to influence people. You know, I didn't know what were the words that people look for when they hear you talk, and they can understand whether or not you're a good person or a bad person. Like, I didn't know this stuff. I didn't know what socialization was about. You know, I didn't know that you gotta be dressed a certain kind of way to be presentable to other people in order for them to feel good about you. I didn't know none of this stuff. I was hood. I was straight gutter, man, and I was just really on some other stuff for real. But then, like, and so my life going in this positive direction now. And I seen all this stuff change before my eyes, and it was so, it made me feel so good that I began to read. I mean, me personally, I grew up on the Bible, so you know, that's kind of like what I lean towards as like a foundation for me, a spiritual reference. You know, everybody have their own thing they lean towards, but I just lean towards the Bible. You know, that's just how I was raised. So the more I seen all this good stuff started happening in my life and just started to change my life, I began to go back to that more. Like, dang, so what it is? So what is it about this whole spiritual thing, this whole God thing? And I began to learn more and more about that. And on my path, that's what really helped me. You know, and before you know it, I found myself spiritual. And people always say about being religious and, you know, Christian, and, you know, going to church every Sunday, going to Bible study, getting down on your knees and praying. But I mean, even though that those things are good, but it's not really even about that. I found that it wasn't even about that for me. It was just more about a relationship with myself. You know, I had to take responsibility for my own actions, and I had to stop blaming people for how where my life was at. So that's like how I became more spiritual. Spirituality for me was something that, you know, I started to understand about who I was as a person and what I wanted for myself. Because at the time before, when things weren't going good, I didn't know myself. You know, I didn't know what I was here for. I didn't know what I was designed to do. I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know my gifts, my talents, or nothing. I didn't even really know what a gift was, you know. And so after a while, I began to learn that about myself, and I'm like, you know, okay, and I became more spiritual like that. Like, to me, that's spirituality, like knowing yourself, you know, and not taking no for an answer for the things that you are presented with. And like, don't take no for an answer. If you don't want to live the life that you live, and change it. And usually the reason why a lot of people can't change it, I feel, is because they don't want to grow on the inside. So I'm saying all this to say I grew on the inside. You know, I knew that the outside was not pleasing me, so I took it back to my house. You know, I built my house. You know who I am. I built my house on the inside, and I changed my ways first. And when I changed my ways, you know, life outside here, outside of me, began to change. You know, for the things that came into my life begin to come into my life, and it just make me a completely different person. You know what I'm saying? And man, that's what my spiritual journey was like. You know, everybody got a different journey, but you know, at the end of the day, the question is, it's like, if you sick and tired of just being sick and tired of being sick and tired and being sick and tired of just, you know, struggling and going through the emotions and being down and out, you know, at some point you got to step up and say, you know what, I want to change all this. You know, I want to take responsibility for my own actions. And so, to me, that's what spiritual growth is all about. Anyway, thank you for watching my video. I'm Trenius Henderson. Please subscribe. This is the Living Realm Network. Comfortable, cozy network. Speak up, let your voice be known. New videos every day. Thank you for watching. I'm Trenius Henderson.